in the Pacific Northwest since the WTO protests, and it has a strong anarchist component. And we saw this throughout the Occupy period, where a very strong thread of anarchism effectively took over the Occupy movement. And now, in the George Floyd protest era, we see that same anarchist contingent grabbing the banner of Black Lives Matter and advancing it for their own anarchist purposes. So, in essence, what I think people fail to understand is that one part of this is a very long, simmering anarchist attack on the structure of civilization, and it has been invigorated by partnering with another movement that has erupted, Black Lives Matter. And in some sense, the reason that the civil authorities do not intercede is that this movement is wrongly understood to be, in some sense, liberal. And because it is liberal, and because the city and state are both very liberal, there is a desire not to be seen as quelling legitimate protest. But of course, this isn't legitimate protest. When this anarchist movement speaks about what it wants, what it wants is absolutely preposterous. And were it to get its wishes, it would be destructive of everything the West stands for. But nonetheless, the politics of the matter make it difficult, I suppose, for the mayor and the governor to do the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird one. I mean, I haven't been to Portland before. I haven't been to Seattle. When I was in the U.S. last year, I went to California for the first time. I went to Los Angeles. I went to San Francisco. This is prior to a lot of the madness that's going on now. But one thing that I found very strange in those two cities in particular was some of the policies, right? Because I was seeing certain issues, particularly homelessness, drug use on crazy levels, and the police kind of not doing anything about it. And I was speaking to people about this, including police officers, including Uber drivers, people in general, and there was this strange thing of everyone sort of acknowledging these issues and these problems, and then perhaps in some cases even telling me about very permissive policies and the police having their hands tied, etc. But a lot of people didn't seem to sort of draw the connection between the problem they're complaining about and the policies that are incentivizing it. And it looks like Portland is a place where that is also happening, and it seems to be reaching a fever pitch right now. So as someone who I consider like a true liberal, not this. I don't even know what to call what's going on now. But what are your thoughts on why that is the case? Why can't people draw a line or be willing to sort of stand up and uphold the things that they really are claiming to support and uphold, but they're not really supporting it, maybe out of fear of being called conservative or whatever it is? But what's going on there? What's the psychology behind it?
Well, we have a kind of slow motion disaster that has unfolded in the U.S., and both the left and the right have played a role. So the left in the U.S. has, true to form, been overly enthusiastic about solution making. And on the one hand, we can applaud the left for attempting to build a better world. That's a laudable objective, and one I share even with the mainstream. But the problem is that trying to build a better world inevitably invites unintended consequences. And the left is always deaf to the unintended consequences of its well-intended policies. And so there has been a bit of overreach on the part of the American left in an attempt to fix things, and a failure to acknowledge what hasn't worked. There is a dogmatic tendency to just stick by your guns rather than learn from your mistakes. And the right, true to form, has reacted to this with an overly aggressive dismantling program where it has taken apart the solutions, and rather than replace them, it has promoted a false story that things are better than they are. And what this has done is it has left us with a country in which a huge number of people are falling off the bottom of an economic ladder, and there is no safety net to catch them. So, what you saw with homelessness on American streets is in every major city, and it's something that requires a recognition that these people are our responsibility. But instead of that, what we have is inflated police budgets designed to take care of that which is not accounted for elsewhere in our system. In other words, the police are basically functioning as quasi-social workers dealing with a mental health crisis amongst homeless people, for which they are not trained and for which they are the wrong remedy. And so anyway, it's a disaster that really requires a broad scale rethinking of the way we deal with our economic structure, with those who find that they are unable to compete, and basically how we are going to navigate our responsibility to each other.